The massive crystal dome of Nexus Prime trembled as 4 to 7 different alien voices filled the air. Some species chirped like birds, others growled like angry beasts, and a few made sounds like singing wind. This was the most important meeting the Galactic Senate had held in 300 years. Admiral Vextar walked to the center of the Great Hall. He was tall and blue, with 6 yellow eyes that moved like spotlights across the crowd. His people called him a war hero, but today he looked more like an angry teacher about to scold bad students. "Friends," he said, though his voice sounded anything but friendly, "we have a big problem. The humans are getting too strong, too fast." Above everyone's heads, bright pictures appeared in the air. They showed star maps covered in red dots. Each dot was a human colony. There were hundreds of them, spread across 3 whole sections of space like red paint splashed on a white wall. "Look at this," Vextar pointed up at the floating pictures. "In just 200 years, humans went from one small planet to over 300 worlds. And every single one is armed like a fortress." The pictures changed to show human spaceships. They looked nothing like the smooth, elegant vessels other species built. Human ships were blocky and covered in weapons. Even their cargo trucks had enough guns to fight a war. "Their mining stations have more firepower than our battle cruisers," Vextar continued. "Their passenger ships carry enough weapons to destroy planets. This is not normal. This is dangerous." Around the hall, alien delegates nodded and made their species sounds of agreement. The insect-like Sindari clicked their approval. The cloud beings called ethereals hummed like a choir saying yes. In the human section, Ambassador Kim Dae-ho sat perfectly still. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. Nothing on his face showed what he was thinking. Next to him, his young assistant Park Soo-jin wrote notes on a glowing tablet. Her pen never stopped moving. Kim Dae-ho had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 15 years. He had sat through thousands of meetings, heard countless complaints, and solved many problems. But today felt different. Today felt like the beginning of something terrible. "We have made a decision," Vextar announced, his voice getting louder. "Resolution 2847 demands that humans get rid of 90% of their weapons. You have 1 year to do this. If you refuse, we will stop all trade with your worlds. If you still refuse, we will use force." The vote happened quickly. 4 to 6 species said yes. Only one, humanity, said nothing. They were completely alone. Kim Dae-ho stood up slowly. His black boots made small clicking sounds on the shiny floor as he walked to the speaking platform. The huge room became quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. He was not a tall man, and he looked small standing in the center of the massive hall. But when he spoke, his voice carried clearly to every corner of the dome. "Honored friends," he said, his words calm and steady, "we hear your concerns. This is a serious matter. We need time to talk with our government on Earth. Please give us the normal time period to send our answer." That was all. No begging, no arguing, no promises. Just a simple request for time to think. The alien delegates looked confused. They had expected the human to panic, to offer compromises, to show fear. Instead, he acted like someone who had just been asked about the weather. As the meeting ended and delegates began to leave, Park Soo-jin leaned close to her boss. "Sir," she whispered, "they think we will give up without a fight." Kim Dae-ho watched the alien representatives file out of the chamber. Some moved on legs, others floated, and a few rolled like living wheels. They all seemed confident, sure that their threat would work. "They do not know us," he said quietly. "They see our ships and think we are conquerors. They see our weapons and think we are warmongers. They look at human colonies and see an empire trying to take over the galaxy." Park Soo-jin closed her tablet and gathered her papers. "What do they see, sir?" Kim Dae-ho was quiet for a long moment. His eyes looked far away, as if he was remembering something painful from long ago. "They see the result," he said finally. "But they do not see the cause. They do not know why we build the way we build. They do not know why every human child learns to fight along with learning to read. They do not understand that we are not trying to conquer anyone. Then what are we trying to do?" The old ambassador looked up at the crystal dome above them. Through the clear ceiling, he could see stars scattered across the black sky like tiny diamonds. Somewhere out there was Earth, the small blue world where humanity had learned its most important lesson. "We are trying to survive," he said. "And they want us to forget how." As they walked toward the exit, their footsteps echoed in the nearly empty hall. Tomorrow, Kim Dae-ho would send a message to Earth. The leaders there would meet and argue and make their choice. But he already knew what that choice would be. Humanity had learned long ago that the universe was not a safe place. They had learned that lesson the hard way, written in fire and fear and the near death of their entire species. Now the galaxy wanted them to forget that lesson. But some lessons, once learned, can never be unlearned. Deep under the city of Geneva, in rooms carved from solid rock, the most powerful people on Earth sat around a black table. The lights were dim, and the air felt heavy with worry. These underground rooms had seen many important meetings over 200 years, but none as serious as this one. President Lee Minute-ho read the alien message again. His dark eyes moved across the glowing screen, reading the same terrible words for the third time. The Galactic Senate wanted humanity to destroy almost all of their weapons and defenses. They wanted Earth to become helpless. 90%, said General Han Yujin, hitting the table with her fist. The sound echoed in the quiet room. They want us to get rid of almost everything that keeps us safe. This is like asking us to kill ourselves. The general's hands were covered in old scars from battles fought long ago. She had spent her whole life protecting humanity, and now aliens from across the galaxy wanted her to throw away all of Earth's defenses. An old woman sitting near the wall spoke up. Dr. Choi Hiram was 93 years old, with white hair and eyes that had seen terrible things. But her mind was still sharp, and her voice was still strong. They look at us and see monsters, she said sadly. They see our weapons and think we want to hurt people. But they do not know our story. They do not know why we build the things we build. Dr. Choi pressed a button, and the wall came alive with moving pictures. The images were old and fuzzy, but everyone in the room knew what they were seeing. It was the most frightening day in human history. 200 years ago, scientists found something terrible in space. A giant rock, bigger than a mountain, was flying straight toward Earth. It was moving so fast that nothing could stop it. If it hit their planet, every person, animal, and plant would die. We called it Omega-7, Dr. Choi said, pointing at the screen. When we found it, we had 18 months before it would hit Earth. 18 months to save everyone we loved. The pictures showed people working day and night, building spaceships as fast as they could. These were not exploration ships or passenger ships. They were escape ships, built to carry humans away from their dying world. Admiral Park Jae-wook, a man with kind eyes and gray hair, leaned forward to speak. Everything we build today comes from those 18 months. Every weapon, every defense, every way we protect our colonies, it all started when we thought we were going to die. The president touched another button, and new pictures appeared. These showed human colonies on distant worlds. But these colonies did not look like the pretty, peaceful towns that other species built. Human colonies looked like fortresses, with thick walls and hidden weapons. The aliens see our colonies and think we are trying to conquer the galaxy, President Lee said quietly. But we are not trying to conquer anyone. We are trying to stay alive. A young officer at the end of the table spoke up. Commander Oh Se-jin was the youngest person in the room, but she had already fought in 3 wars. Mr. President, every human child learns the same lesson in school. We teach them that space is dangerous and that bad things can happen to good people. We build strong defenses because we know what happens to people who do not protect themselves. Dr. Choi stood up slowly, using a walking stick to help her balance. The stick was made from a piece of the asteroid that almost killed their world. She had kept it all these years to remember that terrible time. I helped build the first ships that took humans to other worlds, she said. Every safety system, every hidden weapon, every emergency plan, we made them all because we remembered how close we came to losing everything. She touched the wall screen, and the old pictures started moving again. Everyone watched as the giant asteroid flew past Earth, missing their world by just a few thousand kilometers. It was so close that people could see it in the sky with their own eyes. 3,000 kilometers, Dr. Choi whispered. If we had made even a tiny mistake in our math, that rock would have hit us. Every person you love, every place you have ever been, every memory you have, all of it would be gone. The room became very quiet. Everyone was thinking about how lucky humanity had been, and how unlucky they might be in the future. General Han broke the silence. Her voice was hard as metal when she spoke. The aliens want us to forget the most important lesson we ever learned. They want us to forget that we almost died. President Lee stood up, his decision made. Then we will tell them no. We cannot give up our defenses. We cannot forget what happened. Humanity stays alive by remembering that the universe tried to kill us once. Admiral Park nodded, his face serious. And if we forget, it might try to kill us again. Outside the underground room, the world kept turning. People went to work, children went to school, and families had dinner together. But deep beneath Geneva, the leaders of humanity had made a choice that would change everything. They would not disarm. They would not forget. They would not make themselves helpless, no matter what the galaxy demanded. The universe had taught humanity a lesson written in fire and fear. Some lessons can never be unlearned. 500 alien warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like angry metal birds. They came from 12 different worlds, all working together to force humanity to give up their weapons. The ships were beautiful and deadly, painted in the colors of their home worlds and armed with the best weapons the galaxy could make. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive ship called the Hegemony's Will. He was sure that seeing so many warships would scare the humans into giving up. After all, 500 ships against one small human fleet should be an easy victory. "Sir," said his officer, staring at the glowing screens that showed what was happening in the solar system. "Something is wrong. There are human ships everywhere, and they are all moving." The screens showed a confusing picture. Instead of one group of human warships waiting to fight, there were ships scattered all over the solar system. Some were big cargo ships, others were small mining boats, and some looked like passenger ships. But they were all moving in patterns that did not make sense. Captain Thelvor, an insect-like alien commanding ships from his world, called the flagship. His voice sounded worried. "Admiral, the human cargo ships have weapons on them. Big weapons. These are not normal trade ships." Another captain, this one from a species that looked like living clouds, added more bad news. "The mining stations are launching fighter ships." "How can a mining station have fighter ships?" Admiral Vextar looked at his screens and felt confused. Every human ship, even the smallest ones, had weapons and armor. Even their garbage collectors looked like they could fight a war. Worse, all the ships were moving together like they were following a plan. Then a human voice came over the radio. It was Admiral Song Ji-hoo, speaking from a human warship called the Indomitable. The ship was not hiding or running away. Instead, it was flying straight toward the alien fleet. "Alien ships," Admiral Song said in a calm voice, "you are in our home system without permission. Tell us why you are here." Admiral Vextar turned on his radio and spoke with the authority of the Galactic Senate behind his words. "Admiral Song, we are here because your people refuse to get rid of their weapons. The galaxy has decided that humans have too many guns. Give up your weapons now." The human answered quickly, without fear. "No. We will not give up the things that keep us safe." Admiral Vextar felt angry. How dare these humans refuse the will of the galaxy? "You have no choice. We have 500 ships, and you have maybe 50. Your old ships cannot beat our modern fleet." There was a pause, and then Admiral Song spoke again. His voice now had something in it that made the alien crews feel cold. "Admiral, you are not thinking about this correctly. You see 500 ships attacking one fleet. We see 500 enemies entering our home." Suddenly, the alien screens lit up with new contacts. Things that looked like empty space or harmless rocks began to show weapons. Asteroid mining stations opened up to reveal gun platforms that had been hidden inside. Space stations that looked like they were for research started launching fighter ships. Even the rings around the planet Saturn began to glow with weapon systems that had been invisible until now. Captain Thelvor's voice came over the radio, and he sounded scared. "Admiral, we are reading over 2,000 weapons pointed at us. The whole solar system is one big fortress." Then a human scientist named Dr. Yoon Minitseo spoke on a channel that all the ships could hear. Her voice was kind but firm. "Alien friends, you are seeing what humans really are. We do not just have a military. We are the military. Every human, every ship, every building exists to keep our species alive." Admiral Vextar stared at his screens in growing fear. He had expected to find a small human fleet that would surrender when they saw how outnumbered they were. Instead, he had found something that no military school had ever taught him about. The humans had not built a normal fleet to fight his ships. They had turned their entire star system into a weapon. Every asteroid had guns hidden in it. Every space station could fight. Every ship, even the ones that carried food or mail, was ready for war. "This is impossible," whispered one of his officers. "How can civilians have military weapons? How can cargo ships fight like destroyers?" Admiral Vextar realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had thought humans were like other species, with soldiers separate from regular people. But humans were different. Every human was a soldier. Every human ship was a warship. Every human building was a fortress. The alien fleet had come to scare a small group of human warriors. Instead, they had entered the home of a species where everyone was a warrior. They had expected to find a military base. Instead, they had found an entire civilization built for war. "Sir," his tactical officer said quietly, "what are your orders?" Admiral Vextar looked at the screen showing thousands of human weapons all pointed at his ships. He had brought 500 vessels to intimidate the humans. But now he realized that he had brought 500 targets into the most dangerous place in the galaxy. The humans' home system. Admiral Vextar had seen enough. The humans were not backing down, and his patience was gone. Like a piece of crystal breaking under too much weight, his calm control snapped. "We will show them what happens when they refuse to listen," he said to his officers. "Pick a target in the outer colonies. Hit them hard, but do not destroy everything. We just want to show them they cannot win." He chose 60 of his best ships for the attack. Captain Thelvor, the insect-like warrior from the Sindari homeworld, would lead them in his ship called the Sindari Vengeance. Their target was a farming colony called New Buzan, far from Earth where the main human fleet could not help quickly. Captain Thelvor looked at the information they had about New Buzan. The colony grew food for other human worlds. It had only 3,000 people living there. According to their intelligence, it had almost no weapons to defend itself. "This will be easy," Captain Thelvor told his crew as they flew toward the colony. "It is just a farming town. They grow vegetables and raise animals. They will surrender as soon as they see our ships." But as the alien ships got closer to New Buzan, strange things started happening. The sensors operator, his compound eyes focused on his glowing screens, suddenly looked up in alarm. "Captain, something is wrong. The colony is powering up weapons. Big weapons." Captain Thelvor could not believe what he was seeing. The peaceful farming colony was changing before his eyes. Buildings that looked like they stored grain opened up to reveal missile launchers. Tractors and farming machines unfolded into mobile weapons platforms. Space stations that were supposed to grow food in zero gravity released squadrons of fighter ships. "How is this possible?" Captain Thelvor shouted as his ships came under attack from what should have been defenseless farmers. "These are supposed to be simple people who grow food." A human voice came over the radio. It belonged to Bae Yi-jin, the leader of New Buzan colony. She sounded calm, like someone discussing the weather. "Captain, every human learns how to grow food. Every human also learns how to fight. We can do both things at the same time. There is no rule that says farmers cannot also be soldiers." More ships appeared from nowhere. Mining vessels that had been working in nearby asteroid fields came flying toward the battle. But instead of mining lasers, they now used those same tools as weapons to cut through alien ship hulls. Cargo ships that should have been carrying supplies launched clouds of small fighting drones. Even the research station, which was supposed to be studying plants and soil, joined the fight by blocking alien communications and confusing their sensors. But what shocked Captain Thelvor the most was how the humans fought. They used tactics that no civilized species would ever consider. When human ships were badly damaged, instead of retreating, they would fly straight into alien vessels and explode. Small human fighters, controlled by computers, would sacrifice themselves to take out much larger enemy ships. Captain Thelvor watched in horror as a human cargo ship, with holes torn in its sides and air leaking out into space, deliberately crashed into one of his escort ships. Both ships were destroyed in a ball of fire, but just before the collision, the human ship had sent all its battle information to other human defenders. "They fight like they do not care if they die," whispered his tactical officer, his voice full of fear. The humans were not just willing to die for their colony, they seemed to expect it. They fought with a desperate fury that no other species could match. They took risks that would terrify professional soldiers from any other world. After losing 23 ships to what was supposed to be a simple farming colony, Captain Thelvor ordered his remaining forces to retreat. As they flew back to the main alien fleet, his hands were shaking. When he reached Admiral Vextar's flagship, Captain Thelvor had to give his report. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Sir, they are not like us. They do not just have weapons. They AIE weapons. Every human building, every ship, every person, they are all parts of one giant war machine." Admiral Vextar looked at the recordings of the battle in stunned silence. He had sent 60 warships to scare a farming colony. Instead, he had learned something about humans that no alien leader had ever imagined. The humans did not have an army separate from their regular people. Every human was a soldier. Every human building was a fortress. Every human ship was ready to fight. They had not built a military, they had built an entire civilization designed for war. A human voice came over the radio. It was Commander Lim Tayo, speaking from the main human fleet. "Alien ships, You have now seen how humans protect themselves. We suggest you think carefully about what you want to do next. Admiral Vextar realized that he had made a terrible mistake. He had thought humans were like other species, with soldiers and civilians living separate lives. But humans were different. They were all soldiers, all the time, even when they were growing food or raising children. The galaxy had never seen anything like humanity before. The alien ships limped back to Nexus Prime like wounded animals returning to their den. Many ships had holes in their hulls, and some were barely flying at all. The proud fleet that had left to teach humans a lesson now looked broken and scared. In the great crystal dome where the Galactic Senate met, Admiral Vextar stood before all the alien representatives. His 6 eyes, which had once burned with confidence and anger, now looked dim and tired. The proud warrior who had been so sure of victory now had to explain his defeat. "Honored friends," he said, his voice much quieter than before, "we made a big mistake about the humans." Above everyone's heads, pictures began to play in the air. The alien delegates watched in shock as they saw human farmers fighting like professional soldiers. They saw cargo ships flying directly into alien warships, sacrificing themselves without fear. They saw entire farming colonies turn into military bases in just minutes. "We thought humans had a military like other species," Admiral Vextar continued, his words heavy with meaning. "But that is wrong. They do not have soldiers separate from regular people. Every human is a soldier. Every human, from small children to old people, lives their whole life ready for war." A soft musical sound filled the chamber, meaning someone wanted to speak from far away. A picture of an old human woman appeared in the center of the room. She was Dr. Choi Hyrim, and although she looked very old, her eyes were still bright and intelligent. "Honored leaders of the galaxy," she said in a clear, strong voice, "you look at us and see weapons. We look at ourselves and see survival tools. You think we want to hurt people. We just want to stay alive. Let me show you why we are the way we are." The pictures in the air changed to show something from long ago. 200 years in the past, a giant rock was flying through space toward Earth. It was bigger than a mountain and moving faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. The Senate members watched in silence as humans worked day and night, building ships as fast as they could. These were not exploration ships or trade ships. These were escape ships, built to carry every human away from their dying world. "We had 18 months, Dr. Choi said quietly. 18 months to save everyone we loved. Every ship we built, every weapon we made, every plan we created, all of it was made while we thought we were going to die." The pictures showed ships rising from Earth, covered in weapons and armor. But these weapons were not meant to attack other people. They were meant to protect families running away from death. "Your species had thousands of years to grow slowly and peacefully," Dr. Choi continued. "You spread across the galaxy when you were ready, in your own time. But humans learned something different. We learned that the universe wants to kill us." Another human appeared next to Dr. Choi. It was Ambassador Kim Dae-ho, the man who had sat quietly while the aliens made their demands. "Every human child learns the same lesson in school," he said. "We teach them to always be ready for bad things to happen, because bad things will happen. What you call our weapons are really our insurance. We build defenses not because we want to attack others, but because we want to survive when others attack us." The alien delegates began to whisper among themselves. Some made clicking sounds, others hummed, and a few glowed with different colors. They were all trying to understand what they had just learned. A third human voice joined the conversation. Commander Park So-young was speaking from a human patrol ship somewhere in space. "We do not fight because we enjoy war," she said. "We fight because we remember what happens to people who cannot defend themselves. We remember almost dying, and we never want to almost die again." Admiral Vextar stood up slowly. The anger and contempt he had shown before were gone. In their place was something that looked almost like respect. "The Senate was wrong," he admitted to everyone in the Great Hall. "We thought humans were dangerous because they wanted to hurt us. But they are dangerous because they want to protect themselves. We saw enemies where we should have seen guardians." The final vote happened quickly. Every single species voted to cancel Resolution 2847. The demand for humans to give up their weapons was thrown away forever. But the Senate did something that had never happened before. They offered humanity a permanent seat on the Galactic Security Council, the group that made decisions about war and peace across the galaxy. They realized that sometimes the best protectors are the ones who know what it feels like to almost lose everything. Ambassador Kim Dae-ho spoke the final words that echoed through the crystal chamber. "We never wanted this job. We never asked to be the ones who remember how dangerous the universe can be. But since the universe forced us to learn these hard lessons, we will make sure that no other species has to learn them by almost going extinct. The galaxy had not just gained new members that day. They had found their defenders, a species that would fight to protect others because they remembered what it felt like to need protection themselves. Humanity had become the guardians of a galaxy that had tried to disarm them.